Welcome back to the Dave Knows Comics live stream. Let's try this again. Yeah, sorry about that. I was on a conference call earlier, and I had my settings different because it was a different application I had to do for my settings, and so as a result, I had to change a bunch of things. So I forgot that I had to switch it over. But hopefully everything is working now. So hope all is good. Hope everybody's here. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so I'm back. So hopefully, so is everything sounding better now? Is everything working out? Is everything good? Everything okay? Hey, yo, can you hear me now? Fine. Is everything good now? Or are we still a bunch of blaring background noise? Hey, yo, Harry Flynn. Is everything good? Can you guys hear me okay? Hey, Ben Espinosa. Yes, everything's good. All right, everything's back to normal. Good. Yeah, sorry about that. New video tonight. Very cool there, Harry Flynn. Harry Flynn has his own YouTube channel. Okay, we hear you. Okay, so no background sounds, no mysterious noises or anything like that. We're all good. Okay, so as I was saying, so yeah, today doing something a little bit different. I actually wanted to come on. Before we get into the episode, since the episode's it's not a full movie. Everything is good now. It's not a onesie. It is a hoodie, and yes, I know. I said I wouldn't wear this again, but partially I'm going crazy, but then also it's because we're gonna watch Pryde of the X-Men, so this is fitting. And I actually realized that I jumped the gun on this. I actually wore this a little too early. So anyway, hey Dave, you look like a captain. You look like Captain America for some reason. Really? This is Magneto's hoodie. This is Magneto gear. But anyway, so here's the thing. Yesterday I was going to come on and I was actually tempted to watch the movie Surf Ninjas with you guys over on the Twitter channel. I requested that, and a good buddy of mine sent me the link saying the full movie is actually available on YouTube, so for free, which was cool. I was tempted to watch that, but I know not everybody would be down for it, and it has nothing to do with comic books. I didn't want to torture you guys, and I also really wanted to see it and pay attention to it and put 100% of my attention to it. So yeah, I wanted to see Surf Ninjas like undistracted, which I did. Undistracted? Indistracted? Without the non-distracted. There you go. Even Sandown had a better Magneto gear than you. Well, Damien Sandown pretty good. So, All right, so, want to watch AEW? Ooh, I totally forgot. I'm competing with AEW now. All right. Oh, man. Okay, so, I forgot. All right, so this is what we're going to do. Oh man, I can't believe I dogged that. So, what do you guys want to do? You want to watch Pryde of X-Men now, or should I just go over to Wrestling Channel and watch AEW? Did I screw up badly? I wanted to come on earlier, but Parts Fun Known, the guys over from Wrestle Talk, they were doing an excellent live stream, and I was like, I ain't competing with them. They had like 3,000 watchers, so I didn't even bother. You should watch Paradise PD. But yeah, oh man, I completely forgot about it. Okay, so do you want to do this later, or do you want to watch AEW? Terrible pilot. Go to Wrestling Channel. Okay, so one vote for AEW. Anybody else? AEW. So I can take this goofy thing off. Anybody else want to go watch AEW? Or should we stay here and watch Pryde of the X-Men? Or should I, what do you guys want to do? I'm at your disposal. AEW, so 2 votes for AEW. 1 vote for X-Men. Okay. Yeah. This is the rules around here. First to 3. We'll just go with that. NXT is on now too. NXT is on now too. But anyway, so do you want to go over to Wrestling Channel or should we just stay here? Big Blue Attack says Z. Okay, so 2 for X-Men, 3 for X-Men. Okay, we're staying here for the X-Men then. Okay, who cares about AEW? Okay, so that's the thing. We'll stay here, and after we're done, who knows? Maybe we'll go over to watch it. Okay, so here's so Parts Fun Known was actually doing a nice one live stream. It ran very long, but I'm like, I'm not competing with that. They got 3,000 viewers, and I know there is some crossover fan base, so I was like, I didn't want to make people have to choose between me and Wrestle Talk, so I'm like, Parts Fun Known, so I'm like, just let them watch it. So, alright, now, so for context, back to this, comic book stuff. Comic book channel, here we go. This is Pryde of the X-Men. Now, I have the link in the description, go ahead and click it. I'm right at the very beginning of it. Have it paused, we're ready to watch it. But before we get into some context, now for those of you who don't know, this was a pilot. It was served as a TV special, but it was also a pilot for a proposed X-Men cartoon show. Now, if you notice, it doesn't look anything like the X-Men animated series because, well, the pilot didn't get picked up. It would be, now this was 1989, so it would be 3 years later before we would actually get the X-Men animated series. This served as a precursor. Now, if you haven't seen it before, you're in for a treat because there are definitely some parts of this that are going to stand out to you and say, what am I watching here? Now, I've watched this before, so I like this a lot. And, oh yeah, and the other reason I didn't want to watch Surf Ninjas is because I haven't seen that movie in probably 20 years, if not more. And so I don't have it committed to memory. It's not like Batman Begins or even Spider-Man 3, sadly, where I know all the bits to it. Like, it's fresh in my head, and as much as I want to try to avoid it, I know that movie very well. Those movies very well. Surf Ninjas definitely couldn't tell you what was happening when, so... but this, on the other hand, I am more frequent with. I would choose you every day over wrestling. Thank you, Harry Flynn. That does mean a lot. That really does mean a lot. But again, YouTube wrestling community, very, very cool with each other. We're not competitive. You know, you have your wrestling channel too, Harry Flynn, and I'm always supportive of you, and you're supportive of me. But that's how it works. We try not to compete with each other. So, you know, it's collaboration. Brian Zane, same thing. You know, every time I do screw up once in a while, and I do live stream at the same time as someone else, but I try not to. If I know what I'm doing, I'll try to avoid it. All right, degenerate. Yeah. Okay. So, here's what the setup for this. Now, those of you who might remember, there used to be an arcade game back when those were a thing, where there was a double-sided arcade cabinet, where it was an X-Men video game with 2 screens. This thing was huge, and you could play like 6 characters. Now, those of you who remember that game well and watch this, if you're not familiar with this, you might recognize it because that game was actually based off of the series. They actually put a lot into it, thinking that this pilot was going to get picked up and the series was going to be successful, and lo and behold, it never transferred anywhere. This actually is, now, as it was mentioned earlier, by True Sizzler, this is a terrible pilot. Look, it's not great, but it's par for the course for 80s cartoons, and I don't think it's that bad. I am surprised it didn't get picked up myself. Konami, exactly. Is this on YouTube? Yes, the link is in the description. I will go ahead and, let's see if I can paste it. I'm going ahead and paste the link right here as well, but you can definitely check out the link in the description. I put the link right here so we can queue it up. I have it right in the beginning. You'll know it because there's actually a weird live-action Spider-Man commercial for voting. In like local elections, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man telling you to vote in your... It's a weird commercial in the beginning, but here's a link. I found the whole thing. It's right here. I don't think the pilot's like that. I don't think it's... I think, as I said, I think it's par for the course, and I think there's some parts of it. So I have it queued up. I gave the link to my friend. He didn't like it. Fair enough. But I'm going to try the same trick that Parts of Unknown did. If you guys can go ahead and spam this to your friends so we could watch together with a whole bunch of other people, go ahead and do that. That'd be so much fun. Let's see if you can put the word out. Get more people up in here. He also doesn't like modern day wrestling. Yeah, I mean, different strokes for different folks, as I say. Or some people in the industry say, that's why there's different flavors of ice cream. That's a weird thing that gets said. Okay, and things will run. Okay, so we're ready. All right, so you're losing people. Okay, so all right, back. Okay, good. Okay, guys. So all right, I have it all queued up. Are you queued up? Hope you guys are. Big Blue Attack is ready. I'm ready. So enough context for this. Let's go ahead and give this a watch. Commercial and all. Commercial and all. So if you guys are all ready and set to go, I'm gonna go ahead and press the play button in 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, and as I said, it opens up with a weird... This particular link opens up with a very weird Spider-Man commercial telling you to vote. I'm not ready. Oh, Pen Espinosa. Okay, catch up. Sorry. We are only 16, 17 seconds deep, so you're not all that far behind. Hurry up, follow the link. It's right there in the chat, also in the description. And now this does look more like the Japanese live-action Spider-Man than the one we're used to. Okay, so commercial's over. And then here we go. Now this was taken from a video cassette. So here we have the video cassette warning, letting you know it's protected by copyright. Odd, seeing the fact that we're watching on YouTube, so clearly whoever uploaded this doesn't care. All right. Yes. Best film and ooh, okay, start. All right, so here we go. Now, the first thing you might notice is this theme song is actually not bad. No, it's not as good as the X-Men '92 animated series intro, but this ain't bad. It's kind of catchy. You know. So, and look at the detail of the artwork here. This I actually really like the artwork here. It's done in that this is a very familiar style for a lot of cartoons of the time, but I still like it. It's somewhere between cartoony and realistic. It does have a lot more detail than you would expect. And here we go, Pryde of the X-Men. It's the name of the pilot. I click the link. I click the link. I won't be able to hear you. Okay. Pick your poison, or like what I'm doing is I have it very low, or you could have it in two separate windows. You could try that. What I have it is I have it on my television. I have it on the YouTube on the TV, and then I also have it, and then I have this on my computer. So that's how I'm doing both. I guess I should have went over that a little bit beforehand. Okay, so right now where am I at? I am at 2 minutes and 5 seconds. Okay, looks a tad like Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Yeah, it does have that. I mean, I think there's a little more shadow and detail and contrast than this. In this, I think the artwork here looks a little bit better than Spider-Man and Amazing Friends, and I love Spider-Man and Amazing Friends. Like that's the Spider-Man I grew up on first. Okay, so here we see right off. We get Emma Frost, which is nice. Which I think she's a nice addition. Now, for those of you who don't know, Mystique wasn't always Magneto's, his girl Friday or his, lieutenant. She was a more recent addition to it because of the movies, particularly the first one, where they had this whole dynamic where Magneto and Mystique was together. Because they really occupied in the comic books separate territories. There was, Magneto with the Brotherhood, who at the time were known as the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, which cracks me up that in their heads they're even the bad guys. Like, who would name their group that? That's, like what group would say would put themselves as the bad guys? Which is why it's just the Brotherhood of Mutants now. And furthermore, Mystique was part of the Mutant Liberation Front, which is a group they don't really talk about anymore because they kind of just combined Mystique and the Brotherhood now. Which is also weird because, she's a woman, so, it should be the siblinghood or something. Anyway, worst Spider-Man movie, 3 or Amazing 2? It's a good question. I want to say 3, but I want to say 2, Amazing 2. Warhawk Rambo, good question. I don't know. I'll say Amazing Spider-Man 2. Here we go. So, introduction for Kitty Pryde. And now, even though this door just opened automatically. Now, even though this series and Kitty Pryde can walk through the doors, weird. Now, what's strange for me is that a lot of people who have complained. Now, you're going to recognize some things here. Yeah, Professor X can astral project himself. And one thing you're going to pick up on is there are some notes from this cartoon that they used for the '92 series. It's not completely alien. So we have Kitty Pryde here as substitute for Jubilee. Now, I know there are people who feel that Jubilee is annoying. I never really felt that way. I kind of like Jubilee. Her purpose was always as like a young kid that, children could identify with who are reading these comic books, could, pick up with. Same thing with Robin originally in the Batman comic books. And Jubilee is just one in a long list of young characters that get there for a child's point of view. It's like, why are these adults always explaining something to? Well, now they have a reason to because there's a kid. Kitty Pryde, though, while the X-Men team itself used to be pretty young, then they got older, so they had to find somebody else because you can't just keep. For some comic books they do age, despite popular belief. Comic book characters do age, at least in Marvel they do. And when they don't, they reset. But they do. So while it's very slow, they do try to at least keep these characters at least somewhat growing. And especially that's the satisfaction of it. You want to see these characters grow. You want to see them get older. You want to see them change. You don't want to see them stuck in childhood forever because then it's like they can't grow, they can't learn, and nothing adapts. And sooner or later, you're going to have to reset them where they just forget everything they've already learned, or else they can't go anywhere. There's a satisfaction to that. But the X-Men more notoriously, like Wolverine's always had a young girl sidekick. And Kitty Pryde was really, for all intents and purposes, the first one. So she really occupies the Jubilee. So Jubilee really just kind of took the Kitty Pryde role in this. But personally, I would have preferred it if it was Shadowcat because I'm a big Shadowcat fan. And here you see Dazzler. Now, Dazzler, just like the 92 series, they had this habit of taking characters who were popular at the time, or new characters they were trying to promote at the time, and putting them in the series. Dazzler would be it. And as you can see, just 3 years later, she didn't make the cut because I've made it very clear I'm not the biggest Dazzler guy. I mean, I don't dislike the character, but I just don't. I just think she has a silly power, and I just don't. I just don't get it. And yes, I know, for those of you who want to point out who she's taken down in the past, I don't care. That's plot armor only. But here, you see some familiar faces. And what I also like about this roster, with the exception of Dazzle, I actually like the team significantly better. Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler. Like, these are some of the characters I really think of. They're missing Jean Grey, which I think Jean Grey may not be the most fun character. She is kind of a stick in mud, but nonetheless, with Phoenix Saga and everything, Jean Grey is a valuable asset, and I think I definitely missed out on her here, and also Gambit. I'm also a big Gambit guy, and I kind of wish Gambit was in here. Morph made the cut. Well, Morph was brought in just because they wanted. He was brought in with the sole intention of just getting rid of him because they wanted to show how serious this cartoon was. Watching you and AEW, the TNT Champion Tournament is started. Yes, the TNT title. Okay, don't worry. There's a good chance I might go on to the wrestling channel after this anyway. And I might even come back onto here because I'm bored and I could be editing videos. Oh, by the way, wrestling channel. 7 WrestleMania matches better than the main event. Check it out if you haven't already. I want a live action Shadow Cat that looks like the one from X-Men Evolution. I do too. I would love that character. Firestar? Yeah, Firestar. Spider-Man and Amazing Friends. But yeah, I want to like. Yes, there's an actress, Ryan Newman, not the NASCAR driver, but there's an actress named Ryan Newman. I thought she would have been or she could be a good Shadow Cat. Not currently, because especially if you're keeping Shadow Cat young, for an adult Shadow Cat, I wouldn't mind her. But for if this was years ago, I would have liked Allison Brie in the role too. Okay, so here we go. Danger Room. You gotta start off with the Danger Room. It's one of the cool things you have. And you get some cool cameos here that I kind of talked over and blocked out. Okay, so here you go. So Magneto. And something that's happening, that happens from time to time, Juggernaut being partners with Magneto. Never get it. I don't get it. But speaking of X-Men Evolution, one thing I will say, I really like this design of the Juggernaut far better than the one in Evolution. I thought in Evolution he looked ridiculous. That big giant dome. I couldn't stand the way it looked. This is a little closer. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm one of those guys. The '92 series is the definitive X-Men animated series. That's the thing I want to go about. Oh, you might have also noticed Wolverine sounds bizarrely Australian. No one really knows why that is, but we think, or it's been hypothesized that in the script he does call somebody mate once, and someone thought, oh, I guess he's Australian, so they casted him to be Australian. So you're gonna notice that Wolverine in this cartoon is Australian. And look, Juggernaut crashing through the X Mansion does the same thing. He did the same thing in the animated series. So, as I said, you're going to find a lot of things here familiar. You're going to see some. And now I know that's a Juggernaut thing, but I'm just pointing out that there is a familiarity. You can see where they got certain elements from this cartoon. Like they knew the cartoon did certain things right. Or Juno Shadowcat. Yeah. She did okay. It's X-Men 3, so Ellen did it. Juno did as best as did as best she could in that movie. I don't think she did a bad job in that role, or in Futures Past either. I don't think she did a bad job in the role, but the movie X-Men 3 was terrible. But yeah, she was an option too. Obviously, she played the part, so what am I talking about? But I thought 92 X-Men Juggernaut said that he wasn't a mutant. And he's not supposed to be. And, I don't like Juggernaut being played as a mutant or portrayed as being even mutant sympathizer, because he's supposed to hate the mutants. He's supposed to be, arch enemy, supervillain number 1 who doesn't like mutants, for the X-Men, who's not mutant. Because think about it. If it's not Juggernaut, who is the anti-mutant guy? They don't have one. He grew up with his resentment for Charles Xavier, so he should be the anti-mutant guy. Even though now he's turning into Avenger, so. But if it's not him, who is it? Because most of their villains are just mutants. True Sinister is, oh, that's cute. Classic Game of Hug. This doesn't play out the way they're trying to read it. I don't think it plays. Look, it just looked like you just came and give him a hug. He made a nice transition with a Violent Storm character. She enlists, and the minions only have to set off. Okay, cool. It's Ellen Page. I know what his name is. I said Juno because Harry said Juno. I know who Ellen Page is. You see Hard Candy? No, I didn't see Hard Candy. I didn't see Whip It, and I didn't see Super. And I didn't see Juno either. I just called him Juno because he said it. Hey, Dave, what part of Pryde and X-Men are you on, Ben Espinosa? Oh, you finally caught up? I am at 11 minutes and 17 seconds. Who should play Juggernaut in MCU? Good question. I always wanted, it's not going to happen now, but I always wanted Vader, Big Van Vader, to play Juggernaut. I thought that was like right on. At least they didn't make Jugs a member of the X-Men. Well, they did, but I don't know what point in time they did in the comic books. I actually liked that run when he was on the X-Men, and how he became not a member of X-Men. I thought they did that very well. All right, so now one cameo, one role right here. Now this is something I love. I'm actually a huge Lockheed fan. That's right, Lockheed, the purple dragon there. I understand that it's going to be incredibly difficult to stick him into a live action show, a movie, because like what's the justification for it? And as I said the other day, the X-Men suffer from a certain problem where they're very, in the movies, like what people want to base it on is grounded reality, prejudice, allegory, but the X-Men in the comic books have all sorts of a variety of like aliens and magic and time travel and all kinds of things that you can't throw at an audience all at once because it kind of throws them off. So, yeah, the MCU is a good place because they're actually doing a lot of that kind of stuff. So that's not that bad. But nonetheless, Lockheed might be too much of a stretch for some people. But I love the character Lockheed and I wanted to see him introduced. I was kind of upset he wasn't introduced in X-Men Evolution. And when they had that episode where Nightcrawler was teleporting between dimensions and slowed down, they had a bunch of these like little and first of all, as I've mentioned in a previous video on this channel, that I actually hate that justification because I think it's stupid. But there was this little tiny, they had little, they had these like dragon monsters in the alternate dimension. I thought there was going to be a baby one of them, and that was going to be Lockheed, and that was going to be the excuse to introduce Lockheed into X-Men Evolution. But they didn't go with it. The closest we got is that she has a little purple stuffed animal dragon moment. But I'm actually a big Lockheed fan. All right, so Kitty comes back. She realizes that she needs X-Men's help. There we go. Double A. Tim is here. Tim Castillo is here. Kane could be Juggernaut. Well, I think he's a little busy right now. But yeah, he could be. Double A is here. Alright, so watching Pryde of the X-Men. Now, Professor X is using his powers to detect Asteroid M. By the way, guys, Toad. Sometimes he's green. Sometimes he's not green. Do you guys have a preference? Green Toad or not green Toad? What do you guys think? Scott Steiner had an open mic last night on Impact. Braun Strowman. Not bad. But he'd have to shave that beard off, and I don't think he wants to do that. Big Blue attacks his mic on Impact. Last night, yes. Gotcha. Oh, which name do I prefer better? Well, the name of Kilgrave is a much better name. Kilgrave is a much better name, but Purple Man is what I call him, though. Just because I'm used to calling him that. Hey, Dave, is that a Mario game reference? Eh? Is what? What day is Mania? Saturday and Sunday, because it's too big for one night. And by the way, I am still planning on doing it, although I am worried because I think everybody's doing it. And again, I'm trying not to avoid competition or making people have to choose. But yeah, I think everybody's doing a live WrestleMania watch party. Nice spy. Spy. What, Double A? You came here just to ask that? I said I'll be watching it. Although I think I think, like I said, I think a lot of guys a lot of other YouTubers are doing it. But hey, I'll be on. I plan on being on. It depends on how many people are doing it. Because like if we're really dividing attention, then I might just not bother. But I intend to do it, or we'll see how the first night goes. Yeah, have a good streaming. All right, Double A. Well, sorry to see you go so soon. Hope you're all right. Okay. Might be going on to AEW later on. Now, I have to admit one thing is they're going 0 to 60 in this show. Kitty Pryde just showed up like this day. And, back in the 80s or whatever, this was not a big deal. But she just showed up like that day, walking into the scary mansion, being shocked by this astral projected. Why does that work? Why does the plasma blast work through his visor, through his helmet? Who knows? Anyway, but now she's in space. She just showed up that day, and now she's in space, and it's like no big deal. It's man, this is a packed day now that you're in space on an asteroid fighting with a bunch of mutants. Pyro, good addition to the Brotherhood, if I say so myself. One thing I think is also interesting is that originally the Brotherhood, we saw Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, and in the cartoons, we don't get that dynamic. Like in X-Men Evolution, they did put Quicksilver with them in the beginning, but there was a while before we got the Scarlet Witch, which I find odd that people hold off on. There's certain original teams that I don't get how come they don't, when they bring them to live action or animated, they don't go with those original teams. Like the original Sinister Six, we never get that team well, I mean, we haven't gotten any Sinister Six in the movie, but in the animated series or in Spectacular Spider-Man, or Ultimate Spider-Man and blah, blah, when do we see the straight up original 6 members of the Sinister Six? We just don't get them. And I think that's a solid team, which I don't understand why. Dave, this is my first time watching Pryde of X-Men. Well, I hope you're enjoying it. As I said, I don't think it's that bad. I can watch this. I got no problem with it. I like it for what it's worth. Kofi should wrestle Goldberg. Okay. All right, well, don't let you have yourself a good night, and I hope you rest well. The Insidious Six. Oh, that's right, because I couldn't say Sinister. The Insidious Six. I apologize. We got the Blob. Is it just me, or does he kind of look like the Hobbit, like in the face? And there's something else I do enjoy about this. Nightcrawler, it wasn't super reflective in the movies, but Nightcrawler is usually the comic, or at least not the original movies. But Nightcrawler is typically the comic relief, and I think that's important for this team because this team can get very heavy. So one thing I do like about having Nightcrawler here is that he still can provide that. As you can see, he's a little more charming, he's a little more fun, he's more lighthearted. And the X-Men the X-Men animated series is lacking that. Sure, they had Morph, but he doesn't make it very long in the series. So the X-Men 92 series, while it's still my definitive X-Men animated experience, I do think a lack of comic relief. I would like a little bit. I do also prefer Kitty Pryde to Jubilee. Those are like my those are just like two complaints I have about that. As I said, this show is missing Gambit because I'm a big Gambit guy. Granted, Gambit didn't exist yet. Gambit, they didn't create Gambit yet. So what are they gonna do? Something else that you might have noticed, there is no Beast here. And I think Beast is also pretty functional for the smart guy coming up with a science. And who do we need to magic a doodad into existence? So no Beast is also something I think is problematic. Like, I know a lot of people are Rogue fans, but Rogue isn't 100% necessary. She's not a must in the main character part to me, I don't think. But the roles of comic relief, roles of scientist, these are parts, role of leader, these things are things that need to be done on the team. Justice League over X-Men, says Tim Castillo. Not me, but, I mean, who would win in a fight? Yeah, the Justice League would win, but which team do I like better? X-Men all the way. I mean, they got Superman, so that's just unfair. The show is hard to watch. Yeah, Big Blue Attack and I like it. Don't worry, it's almost over. We're not that, there's not much left. We got just a couple minutes left. I don't think it's that bad. But then again, I grew up on this kind of stuff. But look at this animation. Look at how much detail it is. And remember, this is hand-drawn stuff. No CGI here. Look at the detail, the shadowing on it. Artistically, I think it really works well. And you know what? The other part is that for the X-Men 92 series, which I think this has more detail than the X-Men 92 series, people were saying that, some of the animators were saying that style was harder to do for animation because there's so many lines, there's so much contrast. Like if you look at the Batman animated series, that's a much simpler design. I'm not saying that's worse. but it's a simpler design. But even that was a little daunting. So when they did the revamp, the Red Sky Batman animated series, notice it's even more simple because for animation purposes, it makes lives so much easier when you cut down on all these extra lines. And really look at this cartoon. Look at how many lines are on Nightcrawler's face. Look at the detail in the hair. Animating that hair and how it turns around on Kitty Pryde, all these little spiky parts. That's not easy to do. That's just a lot of work. Think of all the drawings that we're seeing here. These are a ton of drawings, and someone is meticulously doing that all the time. So I appreciate the animation style. I like the design choices, and I do appreciate the actual animation itself. I think it moves pretty smoothly. I think it looks it looks pretty good. It might be paced slower than you prefer, but still, I think artistically wise, this is a good watch. They also did a lot. Also, they did too much for a pilot. They did do too much for a pilot. They jammed in a lot of stuff into this. I think this was more. They were trying to do like a proof of concept almost, and they bit off more than they can chew. All right, and that's probably the next one. So if you never saw it before, well, now you have. As I said, it's something that if you're a comic book fan or a comic book animated series fan, I think it's at least worth the watch. You should definitely check it out at least once. The theme song alone. Why am I here? I don't know. Why is Dave here? I don't know. Why is your sister here? What is going? What? Why is Gomorrah? Jenner, are you feeling all right, buddy? Okay, but yeah, so it was a video that was a proof of concept for it. I thought it was pretty good. Also, the tone feels nothing like the comics. No, it doesn't. It does feel more Saturday morning cartoon-y. It does have that vibe to it. I see why it wasn't picked up. For the time, I don't quite get it. But also remember that there. Hey Dave, that was amazing. St. Venice knows if you can learn to appreciate it. Putting in the context, no. If it was today, if that came out, exact came out with like clarity, no. Of course, it's not getting picked up. But actually, who knows? Maybe the hipsters would have taken it. But back then, that was very similar to. There's this cartoon that I watched, and I never remember the name. I've looked it up, and I've gotten it over and over and over again, and I can never remember the name. But there was this cartoon where it was all about music, and there was this alternate place called the Flip Side that they were always going to. There was also this cartoon called Turbo Teen about this teenager who, if things got too hot, he would turn into a car. Okay, so there were way weirder things. In the 80s, cartoons were like, hey, let's just throw something on the wall and see if it sticks. And, I watched all these things, and I thought they were cool for what they were, as goofy and dumb as they were. And if you go back to rewatch some of those, a lot of them don't hold up. That holds up way better than Turbo Teen does. It holds up way better than, I'm trying to think, there's some other 80s cartoons that really don't gel. Because I've done it. I've done it where I try to watch some of these old things that I grew up with, and I'm like, yeah, this is going to be good. And I stare, and I'm like, wow, this is awful. And I'm not saying this is good. I'm just saying it's better than you give it credit for. And I think it's worth watching, at least for the art style. Like for me, as you guys know, I'm very attracted to like studying art and looking at the art style, especially comic book stuff and animation stuff, because it usually gets, people thumb their nose, art style kind of like look down upon it. I remember, I think I told the story during one of the draw along sessions where I had in college, I had a professor, and we were talking about things. I said, what about comic book art? And he goes, what? What is wrong with you? And it's like, and that's the sad part. A lot of people look down on it, but I think it's really some of the best art that's being produced out there. Ninja Turtles, that's it. Yeah, Ninja Turtles does not hold up. The original show does not hold up at all. G.I. Joe, at all. Transformers, the original, not at all. Dave makes me feel like a snobby critic. No, it's like, especially True Sinister. If you're younger, you're not gonna, you weren't indoctrinated in this. It's funny. My friend has a 2-year-old, and she doesn't really like 2D animation. It's like he tries to show her older stuff, and she's like, she wants to see CGI cartoons. Like that's what she likes. She really like Toy Story. This Mickey Mouse Club show. Or like, yeah, I don't know, something with like Mickey and his friends or something like that, and she really likes that. And you try to show her something 2D, she's 2, her taste could change, but she's not really into it. But it was the same thing for a lot of, like my friend was saying, it was the same thing for him. Like when he was a kid, he liked the Disney movies that he saw at the time. He didn't want to watch like Snow White or things that happened before he was born. I've never had that though, because I did watch a lot of cartoons that were older, like significantly older than I was. CGI cartoons, but it depends on the CGI cartoon. But anime in the 90s is better than modern and American cartoons. Depending on what you're looking for, yeah. I mean, it's nothing I'm going to show a toddler, though. Like, I'm not going to show a child Ghost in the Shell. You know? You're not going to go to a 3-year-old and say, here's Akira. Like, I'm not going to do that. But like Voltron, like the OG Voltron, was something else. Roll joke. Yeah, no, I hear you. I saw Snow White too. I actually saw a re-release of it in theaters when I was a child. But it's one of those. It's just one of those things. It's like, generally, and as I said, she's 2. She could change her mind, but there's a certain nostalgia factor in it. But it's also just what you're introduced in. I don't like talking about the nostalgia factor as much because I say this for everything. When you're first born or you're first introduced into the world, you're still figuring things out. And then when you start seeing things, this is a movie, this is a cartoon, this is how stories go, this is how that is, this is how this is a wrestling match, this is a wrestling, like, you get all these things and you're like, you identify, that's a bird, that's a dog, that's a cat, got it. But then as you get older, things start to change. And then you say, well, no, wrestling is this. That's what I've known since I could walk, or since I could think. I know this to be a cartoon. Why is this not that? And so it's like the CGI thing, she loves this Mickey Mouse cartoon. Like, you have no idea, dude. Like, she loves this thing. And so, but then now you're trying to show her something else, and she's like, wait a minute, no, this is a cartoon. Yeah, I know that's a cartoon, but it's a little different. It's not the same thing. And again, like I said, she's 2. So for this X-Men stuff, like, this is stuff and it's not just a nostalgia thing, but it's like I kind of grew up on these things. Now, like, I didn't see Pryde the X-Men when it came out. I didn't see this until much later, till like way after the animated series. Boy, I was probably in my mid-20s when I saw it, and I could still watch it because why? It's like it's familiar enough, or it's what I identify as a cartoon. It's close enough to what my brain says. I know that to be the definition of what a cartoon is. Okay, so Sister says, in the 90s I watched current wrestling and comic book based cartoons, but was constantly renting out old stuff back in the video store and it's a thing. Yeah, and people do that too, and I think that's healthier for you. As I said, I was always able to watch older stuff. But the cartoons in particular, as I say, and you also have to remember, there's a lot of things that fell by the wayside. The cartoons that you might, like older movies, I think movies hold up better. I think that's something that you can watch before your lifetime. But if you really track it, how many movies have you really watched, or you really like, and you watch all the time that took place before you were born? I'm sure there's some, but it's not a lot. Like for me, it's some of the Rockies, because some of them came out after I was born, but some of the Rockies, like Jaws, some of the Star Wars movies, and there's not. I guess Indiana Jones, one of them, but just a couple of them. But there's not a whole lot. There's not that many. Before my lifetime, there's not many movies that I go back to watch, or like in my regular rotation of like I have to watch this. And it's not a bad thing. It's just how everybody is. It's just because that's what you're introduced to. But when it comes to cartoons, if there was an older cartoon before your lifetime that you were introduced to, or an animated movie that you want to watch and all that, remember, those are the hits. Those are popular ones. I'm talking about when I was introduced to this is a cartoon, how many of those sucked? As I said, Turbo Teen. It's a guy who gets too hot, he turns into a car. And I don't mean like a car man. He straight up turned into a car. Like a full-blown automobile car. Like in the opening sequence, I think he's in the shower or something, and he turns into a car, and he morphs into a car. And it's not like I don't even know if it was a magic car, because I think he just had all the capabilities being a car. Yeah, like I think he could hit people, like pop the trunk and hit people or with it or something like that. Like he didn't run nobody over because it was a children's cartoon. For the life of me, I can't remember any. Don't get me wrong, there are also 80s cartoons that I thought were pretty good that nobody talks about anymore. But I haven't watched them in a while. Like Silverhawks, I haven't seen Silverhawks in forever. That might be good. It might be terrible. I don't know. Also Mask and the Centurions. But I'm talking about the bottom of the barrel. Turbo Teen's probably the worst thing I could ever think of. Jace and the Real Warriors. In my head, that's amazing. Jace and the Wheeled Warriors. I think it was very loosely inspired by Jason and the Argonauts. Jason World Wars had the coolest toys. It was like all these like weird different vehicles, but you could stack them together, interlock them to create brand new vehicles. That show was amazing. So I'm talking about like yeah. So remember, you might go back and watch like, oh, I'm gonna watch He-Man or I'm gonna watch Ghostbusters. This is pretty good. Yeah, okay, that's good. Those stuff is good. Yeah, Thundercats. Yeah, great. It holds up. But when you are 3 or 5 and you're just being bombarded with all these cartoons and the vast majority of them suck, then you just kind of get used to it because you're just like, that's what cartoons are. I am a child. I'm supposed to watch cartoons. I am watching these things. And then you get older, and then someone presents something on that same level of crap, and you're like, okay, I know it's bad for a lot of reasons, but it doesn't really bother me that much. About Mighty Max. I was a little too old for Mighty Max, but I had a vague familiar. Like, my friend Jimmy loved Mighty Max. But I was a little too old for that when it came out. There were countless more cartoons. Yeah, there were countless more. I was watching Looney Tunes, Mighty Mouse, Flintstones, Jetsons, and Woody Woodpecker, not understanding. Right, and the same thing for me. And yeah, same thing, Looney Tunes, I watched the twos. But remember, like I was saying, those are good. It's like, yeah, Looney Tunes, your parents watch Looney Tunes. And it was cool. But those are the good ones because they hold up. The reason why you were watching these is because they were good and they survived the test of time and people were still looking for them. And it was like, oh, I still like Tom and Jerry. I'll play that for my kid. Like, I have a friend and she plays she loved Tom and Jerry when she was little, and so she plays it for her daughter. And her daughter likes it. But the difference is, so her daughter is watching it even because that's what she knows a cartoon is, so she watches Tom and Jerry. Meanwhile, my other friend's kid, same age, watched CGI cartoons and really just like CGI, prefer CGI. Mario cartoon, yes, that I did watch too. Captain Lou. Unlucky because of where I was born in the 60s. And a lot of cartoons I grow up would consider classic. Yeah, those things were classics and good, but let's talk about all the stuff that really, like the bottom of the barrel. That's the stuff entrenched in the muck. That's the crust. That's the crust of a person. Pokemon Digimon childhood. Yeah, I was way too old for that. John Ray Geards was my time. Yeah, I saw Captain Planet. Yeah, these are the things that hold up. You gotta. Nobody talks about Turbo Teen. Okay. I mean, and there's like good reason for it. I don't remember. I could go back and watch an episode of Turbo Teen, and it might be the greatest show on the planet. I say, why have I? I'm sorry. I apologize for every bad thing I've ever said about you. But I mean, I doubt it. As I said, he turns into. It's a kid. It's a kid who turned into a car. Or how about the Karate Kid cartoon? Cobra Kai fans. Double A's out of here. Yeah, Cobra Kai fans. It was a Karate Kid cartoon. I don't remember it being that bad, but I'm willing to bet it wasn't that good either. Dave, Pikachu's my favorite Pokemon. Cool. Captain Planet was so dumb. I was never really into Captain Planet, but I know its longevity. Like, there's certain things that have a little bit more longevity for it, and then those are things that people talk about, you hear about. But very few people will talk about Turbo Teen. There's a very good chance, and I'm willing to bet, for a lot of you, this is the first time you're hearing about it, and a big chunk of you forgot that this was a thing. Or haven't thought about it in forever. Like, there's other shows too. Like, Laugh Olympics with Hanna-Barbera. I love that show. I want to watch it now. It was a good show. It was all the Yogi Berra, like the Hanna-Barbera cartoons. Like, they all had different teams. The Scooby team, the Yogi Berra team, and then the bad guys, the really Rons. And they would always compete in like a wacky Olympics race kind of thing. It was a fun show. I don't know why that show doesn't catch on. But yeah, let's talk about this. Yeah, these are the shows that the hipster people haven't really embraced yet for whatever reason. There's tons of old stuff out there there's good stuff that people don't talk about. Then there's really bad stuff that nobody talks about. So that's what I'm saying. All those more cartoons from my childhood. Thor, Namor, Spider-Man, Hulk. What also fascinates me, as I pointed out, as I was talking about earlier, Pryde of the X-Men, is how soon these characters got into the mainstream. Like, Gambit and Jubilee were brand spanking new when they got into that 92 series. They were like just created like a year or two beforehand and just got brought into a series. Meanwhile, you had like characters like Nightcrawler, Colossus that were around for a very long time. Iceman, OG, didn't get brought into it. So I think it's kind of weird. And here we have Pryde of the X-Men, same thing. Shadowcat, a relatively new character. Dazzler, brand spanking new character. They put him into this 1989 show. I find out those kinds of things weird. But when you look back at history, Spider-Man, his TV series, the character was only a couple years old when he got his own cartoon show. Mind-blowing. Or Batman and Superman, they got their radio plays pretty quick. So stuff like that I just think about it. I think it's pretty interesting. You make me feel like I watched a lot of cartoons. Hey, every kid watched a lot of cartoons. It's a perfectly normal childhood. Nothing wrong with that. Tim, my favorite cartoon is Mickey and Friends. All right, guys. So, but thank you for the thumbs up. So, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna bow out of this chat. Thank you for watching Pride of the X-Men with me. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want, rewatch it when I'm not yammering in your ear and see what you guys think there. I might come back to another live stream on the comic book channel today, maybe. I am gonna try to get something to eat real quick, and then I'll pop on the wrestling channel and see if we can watch. I'll try to pop on the wrestling channel and see if we can watch some wrestling. Okay. Thank you so much for being here, and as always, Dave.